Hi, my Savage Leaders. It's Keisha Harvey, your executive Savage coach, leadership coach. Wanted to pop in today for a hot topic this week. If you're in Atlanta, this applies to you. Even if you're not, you can understand the analogy of what I'm saying. So, the hot topic this afternoon is about the Atlanta Falcons. My husband is a major Falcons fan, as well as most of his friends. And I myself am a Falcons fan. And we have endured seasons and seasons of arguments about change, shifting, and the team changes that need to be made, all of those things. Um, we ended another losing season, did not make the playoffs. Kind of common story for the Falcons, unfortunately. But the topic of conversation started really at the beginning of the season where the team and the fans were struggling about their performance, and everybody started shouting about it's time for a change. They were yelling at Arthur Blank indirectly, do something, make a change. And it made me think about leadership, that a lot of times we are stuck in what we used to do as leaders and we neglect to make changes, right? So, one of the discussions, even though yesterday after the game and the win against our big rivals, the Saints, people still were not that happy, I guess, because we still were going home, right? We weren't making the playoffs and starting the playoffs like the rest of the teams. Um, so the discussion then started that Arthur Blank needs to make a shift for the upcoming season, and everybody was surprised that he decided to get rid of the GM and the coach immediately after the game, not even waiting until Monday. Fans started to speculate, right? Like, what do I do with that? Like, what's the plan? What is Arthur Blank doing? But the outcries continue that he should do something with his right hand man, which is Rich McKay. My husband and I started in conversation that, to his point, Arthur Blank had never done anything. Rich McKay, that's his friend. He was not going to do anything, which further made me think about leadership and the need for us to be agile, especially during times of crisis, right? That we sometimes will not make a shift, particularly in the people that are around us, sometimes that are our trusted confidants, because we are concerned about loyalty and everything they've done for us in the business and what we used to do back in the heyday and the things that we succeeded in. And we struggle to make decisions that are now about right now, right? What used to work back then does not mean it works today. And it's a hard decision, right? So the pressure, I think, just my opinion, that Arthur Blank was getting was, are you going to make a shift regarding Rich McKay? Because my comment to my husband, or my response was, it does not matter if they bring in a new coach or they bring in a new GM or they bring in great offensive players and great defensive players, that if some things are not changed on the front end or on the back office related to leadership, the team will continue to function the way that it has. And we have seen this as leaders, right? That we have struggled. We made some shifts, we made some adjustments, we moved some people in and out, but we kept our inner circle sometimes because we trust them, we feel comfortable with them. It's too hard to start with new people. It's too hard to get to train new people to do something new within your company. It's even harder to trust people if it is your company that you are running. How do I know that this is the right decision? Well, to our surprise today, it was then announced that he decided to demote Arthur Blank, that is, with the Atlanta Falcons, to demote Rich McKay. Again, the fan base is completely shocked and surprised because they did not expect that. And my husband then started making the comment of, finally, right? He is making a shift that is necessary. And my husband also gave the, thought process that they were possibly creating room in the front office for our former quarterback, um, and Matty Ice, sorry, our former quarterback, Matty at Ice, Matt Ryan, that he was going to be in the front office. And I said to him, well, how did they know that Matt Ryan is qualified to be in that position? And my husband rebutted and said, well, there's been other teams that have formed partnerships or hired former team members. And to his opinion, it went well. It again brought me back to leadership. How do we know that the individuals we bring into these positions that are key positions will be what we need to propel us forward? Well, we don't, right? And so, but there must be something about him that gives them some level of confidence that he can work in that role. And so when we're thinking about our company, it's the beginning of 2026, right? Everybody thinks about the new year and what are we going to do in the new year and how do we move forward? How do we make money? How do we perform better as a company, as an organization? How do I be an effective leader where my job is protected? It is an important, oh my God, an important statement because my mom and I were just having this conversation about how companies are laying off their corporate staff, which has really never been seen at this level, right? Kroger just announced today that they're laying off 1,000 of their corporate staff. Not too long ago, Target announced they were laying off about 1,800 of the corporate staff. Amazon is planning on laying off thousands of people in their leadership positions and in their warehouses. And so this is a time where we see so much uncertainty regarding employment, especially if we're in a leadership or corporate position. Many of you have heard my story before that I was terminated after working in a leadership position for 7 years, just kind of giving everything I had in the position and being shocked temporarily about the shift. But this is indeed what happens with companies, especially now. In this day and age, even as we turn over into new year of 2026, you see companies that are seemingly dumping staff, right? Particularly corporate leaders. And so it requires us to change our mindset and that we become more agile, which is one of the A's in the acronym of SAVAGE, right? That we develop self awareness, agility, vision, accountability, growth, and empathy, Savage, in our leadership roles because we need to shift. And right now, what seems to be most important is that acronym or the A for agility. You need to be able to pivot in times of crisis. And so now you start to see the shifting that the Atlanta Falcons base is using with Arthur Blank, that they are starting to make a bunch of changes, whether you agree with it or not. They're acknowledging, Arthur Blank is acknowledging that we have to make a shift, that something has to change, that we can't continue to expect the same outcome doing the same thing. The very definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, right? And so, as organization leaders, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, that we have to be ready in 2026 to pivot, to be agile. And believe it or not, to follow our great Atlanta Falcons lead, that it is time to make some shifts, even if it means that the people that you have depended on in your right hand in your business may need to shift. Maybe they need to go and focus on another area of business. Maybe they need to shift out completely and you haven't figured out how to do it. Right? It's very imperative. I invite you to continue to join us, to follow Savage Leadership, to join us in our group, our professional business group of leaders, where we are talking about these things as Savage leaders. And I would love for you to be in the inner circle. I will talk to you soon. Bye.